All right, well, so Chota Bheem represents everything traditionally Indian. How do you think it struck a chord with Indian kids when they spoiled for choice with all these Western cartoons, so what made you think they caught on to Chota Bheem when they had all these other options with it?
I think one one very important thing is that how can we connect any show to such kids, such beautiful kids. Now they deserved the very best of animation as anyone else in the world. While everyone is addressing the Western concerns, no one is addressing the Indian concerns. We have 1.1 billion people and about 400 million children. So now everyone wants to please the Western world, but I don't, honestly, I want to please these little kids. I want to make them happy. So my job was, can I make something that they can connect with, they can understand? Like if you see Western shows, they eat hamburgers. So the Indian kids in the villages have no idea. Parents, grandparents, teachers, friends, we're we're promoting friendship. So all these values make it all more bigger. The parents allow them to watch. One of the reasons why Beam is where it is because it's parent friendly. It's the number one show with not just little children but also with families.
It's something for the whole family. They get to relate to everything that's on the show, right? Okay. Now, like animation's always been a very risky sort of industry to get into. So, what is your strategy, to materialize like this Chota Bheem project before you started off? What is your strategy to get into animation?
See, honestly, when we started out, we just wanted to make good shows. We went blank. We didn't have a strategy that we'll be here or anything. We had a dream that we want to be something like what Walt Disney did for the world. We want to follow his footsteps. We want to do that first for India and then maybe for the world. So strategy-wise, we never thought of making money or anything of that sort. The first thing was to bring smiles on these little kids, make them happy, do a show that will make them connect with the show, make them happy. If we succeed at the first step, that is making them relate to the character, then we can do so many things around it. Like we started with TV episodes. After TV episodes, we did comic books, we did DVDs, we did merchandise. Today we have 3,000 products based on Beam. Then we did two movies the last 2 years. The first movie of Beam, Chota Bheem and the Curse of Damayan, went on to become the highest Indian animated grosser ever. So before that, there is no industry. Today we're lucky to see so many people who are gaga about comics and everything. There was nothing about 10 years ago. We had to create the market. So that was also an opportunity that we tapped on. We were lucky that we were the first ones to do a show like this. And again, I think we're lucky to have Beam. I think without a Beam, Green Gold would not be the same.
Definitely. Was Beam like the first character you envisioned when you wanted to get into animation? Were there any other characters that you, had in mind that you'd want to try out, or was he like the first thing that came to your head? Like, was it like,
no,
bam, I want to do?
Before we made Beam, there were a dozen characters that I came up with. First one was Bongo, then we did Vikram Betal, then we did Krishna, and there were 7-8 ideas along with Chota Bheem that I formed. But Beam was the most promising, and it took us almost 5 years to sell this idea and 2 more years to implement. So from the date we started, it took us almost 7 years to make the idea work. And when we finally got Beam on air, so we knew that it will be successful, but we never dreamt that it will be a phenomenon.
Okay. You didn't know, you knew it would strike a chord, but not such a big chord with this many people. That's nice. All right, so how do you think that Chota Bheem is changing the future of the Indian animation industry? Do you see other cartoons that are coming up that are being influenced by what you created and things?
Yes, I think Chota Bheem paved the way for Indian animation industry, and before that the industry was struggling. There was no domestic industry. So Bheem has made way for other studios as well, and I'm very happy about it. First thing, what is an industry? Industry is when there are more than a dozen successful companies. And that is pretty rare thing even today in Indian animation. People are struggling to survive. So it's a fantastic fantastic thing Beam had happened for the entire industry, and with we can the other animation studios getting a chance to do their own shows. So it's a matter of time that there will be another show like Beam. So we look forward. I think it's a fantastic thing for the Indian animation industry.
So, like youngsters today, there's lots of people out there today who probably want to get into making their own characters and want to get into animation and things like that. And I'm sure, like when you were an engineer, you were scared of going into anything but engineering. I'm sure there's people out here as well who want to get into animation but are scared of what to expect. So, do you have a message for them? Any advice?
I think whatever they're passionate about, whether it's animation, whether it's comic art, whether it's being a painter, anything related to art or anything else also, sport or whatever it is, I think if you love what you're doing, I think you should go for it. And you must pursue it. I mean, it's easy to quit, but it's very hard to pursue your dream. And of course, there will be a lot of hurdles. You have to go through it. Then only it will work. I mean, no matter how many people discourage you, you should know what you are. And honest, you have to also make your judgment about yourself, whether you belong to that. If you really love it, or just you love it just because your friends love it. So you need to make an honest call that, hey, this is what I love. And more importantly, you have to attempt at it. And if you fail, there is no shame. You have to try again. And if you fail again, try. I mean, if you fail, keep trying till you succeed. If you don't succeed, keep trying. There's no way that you can lose forever.
Yeah, 'cause like you said, it took 5 years. There you go. Give it up for determination. It took 5 years before this came to life as a cartoon character. That's quite a lot of persistence there. So yeah. All right. So here's something else. Everyone watches it. We watch it. We watch the cartoon comes up. We watch like half an hour. But what are the different stages of production that goes into making just one episode that we take for granted? We watch it for half an hour. We enjoy it. But how long does it take to make one episode, and what are the stages?
I'll talk about the stages and then talk about how long it will take. The first stage, of course, is the concept idea. Now, when we have a show like Beam where all characters are already there, the first thing is we need an idea to make an episode. So once we have that idea, let's say the idea is about a sports competition, a running race. So it's a simple thing. Children love anything that they can compete. So it's a simple thing like that. Then what you do is, the second thing is make a script. And what are the new characters that are introduced. So once you are done with the basic steps, then you go ahead and design the characters and locations. So if you have example in the location, if it's a race, you need a stadium or a track. So you go about and design the track and what is around is it. So you build the props around it. So once you're done with the script, then you have the character design and the pre-production done, and you start with the storyboard. Once you're done with the storyboard is nothing but very similar to a comic book where you're breaking up the story into different frames and different shots and different scenes. Once you have that, it splits into two parts. One is the foreground, one is the background. The background is layout and BG, which is background digital painting. Well, the foreground is animation. So that is hand-drawn animation, like what you see traditional. And today you also have computerized animation, or you also have flash animation or digital animation. So there are various things. So once the foreground and background are done, then you composite them together after both the stages are done. And all the composited stuff is sent to the edit room where you put the shots together and the director finalizes everything. Once the episode is ready, then you send for music. Once the music is done, you do the mixing with the dialogues, and then that's it. The show is ready to go on air.
Right, and how long does that process take for one episode generally?
It depends on the number of people, but let's say about team of 40 people, it will take about a month to make an episode of 20 minutes.
Wow, so there's 40 people who work on every episode.
Yeah, that is the minimum number.
All right.
Right now we have about 180 people working on each episode. The episode is out in 1 week.
Wow. Okay, so it takes 1 week. If this whole staff is working, it just
Of
takes
course,
1 week.
the more the
That's
merrier.
definitely, right? Okay. Are there any more Chhota Bheem movies that are in the pipeline?
Yeah, we have, right now we're working on 2 movies. One is for One is based on Mighty Raju. I don't know how many has seen Mighty Raju. And the other one is Chota Bheem again. It's based on Kung Fu. We're planning for Christmas 2014 to release a new movie of Chota Bheem, and this time we're doing in 3D. So we're inspired from Kung Fu Panda. So we are.
Is Chota Bheem doing Kung Fu himself?
Yes, yes.
Wow, where does he learn Kung Fu?
Well, he's learned earlier in Shaolin in one of the TV movies. So this time he goes to China and he fights Kung Fu with the bad guys in China.
Wow, it's like Karate Kid, only it's Chota Bheem going to China this time. That's pretty cool. All right, so like where does Chota Bheem stand in comparison to Western cartoons in terms of animation? You know, like we grew up watching things like my generation. We grew up watching things like Dexter and Samurai Jack and Powerpuff Girls and things like that. So that, if you look at it, they had a very different kind of an artwork to it. Not like it wasn't full on animation, but it had a very specific sort of an art to it. Jendi Tartovsky, right? So like, how does this stand in comparison to that kind of animation?
I think for us, what is the most important thing is the storytelling. So we focus a lot on storytelling, and we make sure that with visuals we communicate the story. So that is the first most important thing. And second, we make sure that it connects with the audience. So we do a lot of research. So more importantly for us, how the show does in terms of rating. Beam has been the number one show for last 5 years. It's competing with Dexter or whatever shows you just mentioned. Besides Doraemon, which is competing with Japanese cartoons, it's competing with European cartoons. It's coming with the biggest budget animated shows, and is still the number one show. So I cannot thank the fans enough that it's because of this, the parents and the children, that Beam is number one. It's competing with the best shows in the world, which have been made with 10 times more budget than we are making. But as a studio, we are very proud of creating Beam, and we really thank the fans for all the support.
So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Are there